In the heart of rural India, where the roads remain unpaved, and the dust of Rampur chokes the air, Priya Sharma was born. Her father was a farmer, his back bent by the earth, his hands cracked from a land that barely produced enough to survive. Her mother worked as a helper, washing clothes and cleaning floors in wealthy homes to earn a few extra rupees. Life in Rampur was hard, but for Priya's family it was defined by the silence of the lower caste. A boundary they were never allowed to cross. She saw her family wait while every other customer was served. She saw the world look right through them. But Priya was different. She had a fire inside her that refused to go out, no matter how many times the world tried to extinguish it. At 7, she asked to go to school. "Girls like us don't go," her mother said. "We are needed here." Priya didn't give up. Every morning she stood outside the gate, a silent witness to a world she wasn't invited to join. Master Suresh, the teacher, noticed her. He saw the determination in her eyes and opened a door the world had kept shut. "Sit in the back," he told her. "No fees." Priya ran home, promising to finish every chore if only she could learn. She kept her word. Every morning before the sun rose, she fetched water, swept the house, and prepared breakfast. Then she would run, barefoot, with no shoes to protect her. She ran toward her future. By night, under the dim flicker of a kerosene lamp, she wrote on old newspapers, with a pencil sharpened by a blade. She was the brightest. She solved math in her head, and read with a fluency that amazed even Master Suresh. "You have a gift," the teacher told her. "Never stop studying, no matter what happens." Those words became her compass. But success brought enemies. The wealthy mocked her torn clothes and her bare feet, telling her she was born to wash dishes. She never cried in front of them. She saved her tears for the river, where she vowed that one day they would not dare look down on her. By 12, she had finished at the top every single year. She had proven her brilliance, but the walls of Rampur were closing in. Master Suresh fought for her. He secured a scholarship to the town school, a bridge out of the dust and into the light. Leaving was the hardest thing she'd ever done, but she knew it was her only chance to build a life the world said she couldn't have. Her father gave her his savings, money from skipped meals. Her mother whispered, "Be brave. Remember who you are." She walked away from the village with a heart full of dreams bigger than the dust she left behind. Priya Sharma didn't just escape her circumstances. She rewrote her story. In the social hierarchy of the town school, Priya was an anomaly. She came from Rampur into a world of concrete and English. It was a large building with ceiling fans and libraries, a stark departure from the small village school she had known. The students wore pressed uniforms and carried expensive bags. They spoke in English, a language Priya could barely understand. Life in the hostel offered no sanctuary. She shared a room with girls who had grown up with comforts Priya had never known. When she mentioned Rampur, they giggled. Meena, their leader, whispered judgments that felt like sharp needles. While others slept, Priya stayed awake. Armed with a small torch, she fought the language of the town one word at a time. The isolation was systemic. They avoided her in class. They ate lunch away from the village girl. Her confidence began to crack. Then came the locker room incident, a moment of total humiliation orchestrated by Meena and Shalini. Shalini told her she brought down the standard. She was told to learn her place. The locker room erupted in laughter. That night, Priya broke. Locked in a bathroom stall, she considered retreating to the safety of Rampur. She thought of her father, but in that cold bathroom something shifted. Sadness transformed into anger. Not to hurt, but to prove. She decided she would stay. She would work harder than anyone in this school. She would make them eat their words. Her approach became clinical. She woke at 4 a.m. to study English from newspapers found in the recycling bin. She practiced speaking in front of mirrors until the village accent was gone. Every free moment was spent in the library. Slowly, the data changed. Her scores climbed. From the bottom of the class, she rose into the top 10. The English teacher read her essay aloud. The math teacher praised her speed. The wildflower was now outshining the roses. The mockery didn't stop, but it lost its power. They were forced to watch as she took the space they thought she didn't deserve. This wasn't just about grades, it was about dismantling a hierarchy. Place isn't given, it's taken. The town school didn't break her, it forged her. Every stone thrown at her became the foundation of her future. She was no longer the wildflower, she was the gardener of her own destiny, standing tall in a world that tried to hide her. Rampur remained a part of her soul, but she had built a bridge for others. Her story was just beginning. In a system designed to exclude, the greatest rebellion is to succeed. Merit is the only language everyone eventually understands. By the 10th standard, Priya was transformed. No longer the girl who struggled with English, she was now the top student. Her essays became the gold standard, and her hand, once hesitant, now rose with absolute confidence. But success casts its own shadow. While many respected her, Mina and Shalini's hostility only grew. They traded mockery for rumors, claiming she cheated or that judges took pity on her village background. Priya walked the corridors with her head high, not from arrogance, but from a new understanding of her own worth. Yet in her hostel bed, she wondered why some sought to tear her down. She missed Rampur and her family's warmth. On weekly payphone calls, she shielded them from the truth, painting a happy picture while fighting back tears. For the board exams, she studied 18 hours a day, pushing her body and mind to the absolute edge. She was found asleep over her books, her health failing, but she refused to slow down. She had come too far. The results were undeniable, 98%. She was the district topper, silencing every rumor and every critic. There were no judges to bribe. Her merit was absolute, proven on answer sheets evaluated by anonymous strangers. In Rampur, her father wept for joy. The walls of caste and class crumbled, if only for a brief moment. But Priya knew this was just the beginning. In the town library, she discovered a deeper calling to serve her country. She dreamt of the uniform, not for status, but to protect those as vulnerable as her own family once were. Master Suresh guided her toward the military academies. Impossible was a word she had already defeated. With her results, a national scholarship provided textbooks, shoes, and a jacket, treasures she had never known. Entering a prestigious state school, she faced children of the elite, but she was no longer that scared little girl. She threw herself into her studies, but her eyes remained fixed on the ultimate prize, the military uniform. Surrounded by those with every advantage, she relied on her own grit. She knew the real battlefield was won in the mind. Worth is not measured by the start, but by the distance traveled and the courage to dream beyond one's limits. Priya became a beacon, proving that even the most deeply entrenched barriers can be breached with a clear vision. She prepared for the academy with the same fire that conquered the district. The mission was absolute. Rampur was her origin, not her limit. Her spirit was her most powerful weapon. A girl from the village, now a protector in the making, destined for the nation's service. Her story teaches us that merit is the equalizer. Her destiny is written by her resolve in the present. Priya's new school offered a world-class athletic facility. For the first time, her military dreams had a training ground. But excellence breeds resentment. Kavya, a daughter of privilege, targeted Priya with calculated cruelty, mocking her poverty. What hurt most wasn't the insults, but the silence of those who watched. Priya chose to channel that pain into her training. Under Captain Verma's wing, she forged a soldier's soul. Every mockery became another lap, another pound of iron lifted. At the games, she swept gold. On the podium, the bully looked away, a victory far greater than any trophy. She was no longer just surviving. She was a warrior in training. She saw not the village girl, but the officer. Her story reminds us, when every muscle screams for you to stop, that is exactly when you must keep running. Success followed Priya like a shadow. 96% on her boards. Headlines and scholarships followed. But her heart beat for a different uniform. She didn't want the ivory towers of a university. She wanted the front lines. The Combined Defense Services examination, a gate guarded by hundreds of thousands and only a few hundred spots. In the state capital, Priya stood among those with resources she could only dream of. Elite schools, expensive coaching, the architecture of privilege. For a moment, the old feeling of inadequacy whispered. Did a girl from Rampur really belong here? But then, she remembered the mocking smiles of the past. She remembered being told to know her place. She didn't surrender. She picked up her pen and began to write her own destiny. A few months later, her name appeared on the list. She had cleared the written exam. But the real trial was yet to come. The Services Selection Board, a 5-day gauntlet designed to break the weak and reveal the leaders. She arrived with nothing but a small bag and a heart full of determination. Day 1. Officer Intelligence Rating. Her mind, sharpened by years of struggle, didn't falter. She saw patterns where others saw chaos. On the second day, she was shown an ambiguous image. Priya wrote a story of hope in a difficult situation. The assessors took note. Days 3 and 4 were grueling. physical obstacles that tested the body as much as the spirit. Honed by years of secret training, she moved faster than the rest. She scaled walls and crossed ditches with silent precision. In group tasks, she didn't shout. She led with a calm clarity that even the male candidates respected. Then came the most critical test, the personal interview, a one-on-one with a veteran brigadier. 30 years of service. He probed her past, the poverty, the bullying, the locker room incidents. He wanted to see if she would break. He asked her, "If you become an officer, would you use your power to take revenge on those who hurt you?" Priya's answer was a shield, not a sword. She told him revenge was a waste of energy. Her goal was to protect the voiceless. The brigadier smiled. In that dark room, the girl from Rampur had shown the true character of an officer. The final day, the conference. The assessors gathered to make their final decision. Priya waited in the silence. The list was read. Her name was there. Recommended for commissioning. She was going to be an officer. The tears that came weren't from sadness. They were the tears of a girl who had finally earned the right to wear the uniform. From writing on old newspapers to leading the nation, Priya proved that the iron will of a human soul knows no place. Priya's arrival at the Officers Training Academy was more than a beginning. It was a baptism by fire. On a sweltering June morning, she crossed the threshold into a sprawling fortress of discipline, a city of concrete and iron designed for a single brutal purpose: to strip away the civilian and forge the officer. As she walked through those gates, carrying the meager regulation of her past, she felt the crushing weight of the unknown. The transition from the world she knew to this temple of order was instantaneous and absolute. The regime was relentless. At 5 in the morning, the air thick with sweat and expectation, the cadets were pushed into a cycle of drills, weapons handling, and tactical theory. The instructors were cold, weathered men who measured worth only in raw performance. They did not care for lineage or wealth. They cared for the clock and the kill. Under the flickering fluorescent lights of the study halls and the punishing sun of the parade grounds, many broke under the strain of total accountability. But Priya possessed a secret weapon, her own history. The hardship of Rampur and the scars of systemic bullying had already tempered her spirit. Where others saw a drill sergeant scream as a threat, she saw it as an echo of trials she had long since conquered. She thrived in the shadows of the academy's imposing buildings, turning her past suffering into a silent, authoritative discipline. While others cried in their bunks, she found her center in the chaos. Her physical fitness was legendary, but it was her tactical mind that truly set her apart. She moved through the academic trials with the same cold efficiency she applied to the firing ranges. She was becoming a weapon of precision. Her leadership was defined by a single moment on a jagged mountain pass. During a 30-kilometer forced march, when a fellow cadet named Rohit collapsed with a shattered ankle, the rules demanded he be left behind to face elimination. Priya refused. She distributed his weight among the section and offered her own shoulder to the fallen. They finished the march together, bruised, broken, but complete. It was a defiant act of compassion that rewrote the definition of leadership. The high command saw not a rule breaker, but a leader who understood a fundamental truth. The military is not just about orders, it is about taking care of your people. In that moment, a legend was born. Her peers began to call her Didi, the elder sister. It was a term of profound respect. She was no longer just a survivor of Rampur. She was a tactical force, a leader who commanded through loyalty rather than fear. By the final phase of training, Priya stood at the pinnacle of her batch. She had walked through those gates a girl terrified of her own limits. She would walk out a commissioned officer, ready to face the world on her own terms. The passing out parade at the Officers Training Academy is an emotional transition from trainee to leader. For Priya, it was the culmination of months of sacrifice. It was the moment she stepped into her new rank and new responsibility. Her parents traveled from Rampur, witnessing the girl who once fetched water barefoot now marching with future officers. In that uniform, her past was no longer her definition. She was now a commissioned officer of the Indian Armed Forces. After the ceremony, words were not enough. Her family's pride was the quiet satisfaction that every sacrifice had been worth it. Her first posting was a sensitive border area, prestigious, dangerous, and a true test of her ability to lead. She earned their respect through competence and care, proving that in the military only courage and ability matter. Priya proved that where you come from is just the prologue. What you do for others, that is the story. Duty, honor, service. For 2 years, Priya stood at the edge of the world. A forward posting where the air is thin, the weather is a weapon, and the stakes of every breath are absolute. She led her platoon through the machinery of war and nature, border patrols in extreme cold, search operations in hostile terrain, each a calculated move in a high-stakes game. Then, the floods. Rising water that didn't just drown villages, it swallowed futures. Many were trapped, left hanging on roofs as the current grew teeth. Priya led her unit into the surge. When a boat capsized, she didn't calculate the risk. She simply jumped into the dark, swirling current. 20 minutes of fighting the void. She refused to yield until every single person had been pulled to safety. It was duty, plain and simple. The commendation spoke of bravery. The newspapers called her a hero. Suddenly, the girl from Rampur was a face the whole country knew. But Priya was uncomfortable with the attention. She didn't jump into those waters for fame. She did it because it was necessary. She deflected the praise to her soldiers, the men and women working around the clock, providing aid and comfort while the world watched her. After the posting, she became the hand that shaped the next generation. At the training establishment, she was firm, fair, and relentless. She shared her own story to show them that no matter where you start, you can reach the peak if you're willing to do the work. While she taught, she also studied. Staff college, advanced tactics, strategic management. She excelled, proving she was ready for higher command. But she never forgot Rampur. She set up scholarships for girls and started weekend coaching programs at the base for children like her. Back home, the transformation was physical. Her father's farm flourished. Her mother, once a helper, now ran her own business. Pride replaced poverty. In her desk, she keeps the reminders. The old pencil sharpened with a blade. Master Suresh's torch. The artifacts of her struggle. She kept every insult, every mocking laugh from those locker rooms. Not for bitterness, but as the high-octane fuel for her ascent. They were the power that drove her journey, a reminder of why she fought so hard to be where she is now. Priya's journey is a testament to the fact that we are not defined by our starting line, but by the fire we carry within us. Leadership is not about taking credit. It is about being the light when the world is dark. Priya is that light. Years had passed since Priya left the town school, a place where silence was her only shield against humiliation. Today, she stands as a decorated officer of the Indian Armed Forces, her rank earned through fire and iron. Her name is etched in national records, a symbol of determination. She has commanded soldiers in the harshest environments and trained the next generation, far removed from the girl who once hid her torn clothes in shame. Then came the invitation. Her old school, the site of her deepest wounds, was celebrating its 50th anniversary. They wanted her, the girl they once tried to break, as their chief guest of honor. The memories flooded back. The lockers, the mocking laughter, the cruelty of those who believed their birthright was to belittle others. For a moment, she considered declining. The shadows of the past still had teeth, but she thought of the girl she used to be. That scared village girl deserved closure. Priya accepted, not to revisit the pain, but to finally close a chapter that had remained open for far too long. On the day of the ceremony, she arrived in full uniform, medals gleaming like armor. As she walked through the gates, she realized the imposing buildings of her childhood had shrunk. They were just brick and mortar, ordinary. The corridors where she once walked with her head down were now just hallways. She saw the new generation, some confident, some struggling, and she knew exactly what she had to say to those who felt they weren't good enough. Inside the auditorium, a heavy silence fell as her achievements were read. Gallantry awards, academic success, community service. By the time the introduction finished, the silence was absolute. Before the hall erupted in thunderous applause, Priya stood at the podium. She saw her old teachers, some with tears of pride. And then she saw them. Meena, Shalini, and Kavya. sitting in the middle rows, older now, their faces marked by time and unremarkable lives. In those brief moments of eye contact, more was said than words could ever convey. They knew. They remembered the locker rooms and the cruel words. And they saw that the girl they tried to break was now their commander. Their cruelty had failed. True strength isn't just surviving the fire. It is returning to where you burned and realizing you are the one who remains standing. Priya's journey was finally complete. Priya Sharma stood at the podium for a moment without speaking, letting the silence settle over the auditorium like a soft blanket. She was not nervous. She had led soldiers through dangerous operations and stood before senior generals. Civilians would not intimidate her. She didn't speak of her achievements. She spoke of her failures. She spoke of the first time she came to this school, lost and silent. She told them about the loneliness of lunch alone. She told them about the locker room, the laughter, and the names she was called. She told them about the time someone put a dead cockroach in her locker. The point was not to shame, but to show that failure is not the end. She spoke of the night she sat on the bathroom floor crying, and how in that despair she found something stronger than the pain. She chose to turn every insult into motivation and every obstacle into a stepping stone for the journey ahead. She spoke of Master Suresh and Captain Verma, mentors who believed in her when she did not believe in herself. No one rises alone. The greatest strength a person can have is the courage to ask for help and the grace to accept it when it is offered. In the military, she learned that the strongest soldiers are often the quietest, those who have endured the most and emerged unshaken. In the field, differences of caste or background vanished. What mattered was trust and whether you would stand by your team. A person's value should be measured by their character and their actions, not by the circumstances of their birth. She looked at the students being bullied today and told them, "I know, I was one of you. This pain is not permanent. If you choose to use that pain as fuel instead of letting it destroy you, it can become the most powerful force in your life." To the bullies, she said, "Putting someone else down is a sign of weakness. Truly strong people do not need to make others feel small." Her words hit like a quiet thunderbolt. Teachers wept. Former classmates sat frozen in a mixture of admiration and shame. True freedom is reaching a point where your self-worth is no longer dependent on what others think of you. Afterward, Kavya, once the queen of the locker room, approached with red eyes. She said she was sorry. She was carrying the guilt of years. Priya told her, "I forgave you long ago. Resentment is a heavy rucksack. It only slows the march." They embraced, closing the circle. Priya taught her that the best thing she could do now was teach her children to be kind. As she drove away, she whispered to her younger self, "Everything is going to be okay. The light always finds a way through." Priya's story continues in the lives she touched, the soldiers she led, and the girls whose lives were changed by her grace.